On Tuesday afternoon, January 20th, a 5-year-old boy named Liam Conejo Ramos came home from preschool in Columbia Heights, Minnesota. He was wearing a blue knit hat with bunny ears and carrying a Spider-Man backpack. Federal immigration agents were waiting in his driveway. What happened next sparked international outrage. But that's not the story I'm here to tell you today. Subscribe to Capital Prime and turn on notifications, because what the White House did with a photograph 2 days later reveals something far more disturbing than one child's detention. This is the story of how your government used artificial intelligence to create propaganda. How they altered a black woman's face to make her look like she was crying. How they made her skin darker. And how, when caught, they doubled down. This is about Liam Ramos, but it's also about Nekima Levy Armstrong. And it's about the moment we crossed a line from spin to state-manufactured reality. The image spread instantly. A small child in an oversized bunny hat standing next to a masked federal agent. The child's face blank, confused, not understanding what's happening. Liam had just gotten out of his father's car in their driveway. His father, Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, was driving. They'd just picked Liam up from preschool. According to the superintendent of Liam's school district, Zina Stenvik, here's what ICE agents did. They approached the car. The father got out. The agents took the 5-year-old child out of the still-running vehicle. They led him to the front door of his home, and they told him to knock. Why? To see if anyone else was inside. They were using a 5-year-old as bait. Stenvik said it explicitly during a press conference Wednesday, essentially using a 5-year-old as bait. Mary Granlund, the chair of the Columbia Heights School Board, was driving by when she saw what was happening. She pulled over. She got out of her car. She heard another adult from inside the home begging the agents to leave the child with them. The agents refused. Granlund watched through a window as Liam's mother stood inside, terrified. She could hear the father yelling at her not to open the door, afraid the agents would force their way in. The agents detained both Liam and his father. They drove them 1,200 miles to a detention facility in Dilley, Texas. Liam is 5 years old. He's now in a family detention center in Texas with his father, separated from his mother, his school, his home, everything he knows. The Department of Homeland Security told a very different story. DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said, ICE did not target a child. The child was abandoned. According to their version, when agents approached the vehicle, the father fled on foot, abandoning his child. They claim the father ran away, leaving Liam alone in a running car in the middle of winter. They say an agent stayed with the child for his safety, while others apprehended the father. But the school district disputes this completely. Superintendent Stenvik said both father and son were driven away together. School officials who witnessed the arrest said the father never fled. They said he was with Liam the entire time. Vice President J.D. Vance visited Minneapolis on Thursday. When asked about the incident, he said, I see the story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, and I think to myself, oh my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Then he added, well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? That was the vice president's defense. What were they supposed to do? Let the child freeze. Except there was an adult right there willing to take custody of the child. School board chair Mary Granlund was there. She offered, the agents refused. Here's something critical that's being buried in the coverage. Liam and his father have a pending asylum case. They have no deportation order. According to Justice Department records reviewed by CBS News, their immigration court case is listed as pending. That means an immigration judge still must consider their asylum claim before any deportation can happen. The family's lawyer, Mark Prokosh, said they did everything right. They used the CBP One app during the Biden administration. They made an appointment. They presented themselves at the border legally to request asylum. They followed the rules. And now Liam is in a detention center in Texas, 1,200 miles from home, with no deportation order while his asylum case is still pending. Liam is the 4th student from Columbia Heights Public Schools to be detained by ICE in recent weeks. 2 weeks ago, a 10-year-old girl and her mother were arrested on their way to school. By the end of the school day, they were in a detention center in Texas. They're still there. Last week, a 17-year-old student was detained on their way to school. Masked, armed agents. No parents present. On Tuesday, the same day Liam was taken, another 17-year-old high school student was apprehended. 4 children, 1 school district, in 3 weeks. Superintendent Stenvik described what's happening in Columbia Heights. ICE agents have been roaming our neighborhoods, circling our schools, following our buses, and coming into our parking lots multiple times, and taking our kids. This isn't targeted enforcement of dangerous criminals. This is systematic sweeps of immigrant communities, including children, on their way to school. Liam is now being held at the Dilley Immigration Processing Center in Texas. It's ICE's long-term holding facility for families with children. On Saturday, families at Dilley held a protest. According to an attorney representing migrant children, it was peaceful. Some of the children held signs. Neha Desai, director of immigration at the National Center for Youth Law, visited Dilley recently. Here's what she reported. The current conditions at Dilley are fundamentally unsafe for anyone, let alone young children. Since the reopening of family detention, hundreds of families, including babies and toddlers, have been subjected to substandard medical care, degrading and harsh treatment, and extremely prolonged times in custody. She continued, nearly every child we spoke to was sick, and it seemed there was an epidemic of illnesses going around. Families reported that their children were malnourished, extremely ill, and suffering profoundly from prolonged detention. This is where Liam is right now, a 5-year-old who was taken from his driveway after preschool. While the outrage over Liam was building, something else was happening in Minnesota. On Sunday, January 18th, protesters disrupted a church service at City's Church in St. Paul. Why? Because one of the pastors at that church, David Easterwood, is also the acting field director of the St. Paul ICE office. The same federal agency detaining children is being led in Minnesota by someone who serves as a pastor on Sundays. The protesters entered the church and began chanting, "ICE out." They demanded justice for Renee Good, a woman who was fatally shot by an ICE officer in Minneapolis earlier this month. According to witnesses and video, the protest was peaceful, no violence, no threats. Disruption, yes, but peaceful. One of the protesters was Nekima Levy Armstrong. She's a civil rights attorney, an activist, an ordained minister. She leads the Racial Justice Network in the Twin Cities. On Thursday, January 22nd, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced Armstrong's arrest on federal charges. Not for violence, not for property destruction, for disrupting a church service. She was charged under the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, a law written to protect abortion clinics from blockades. Think about that. A law designed to protect abortion access is now being used to prosecute people who protested an ICE official at a church. At 10:21 a.m. on Thursday, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posted a photo of Nekima Levy Armstrong's arrest on X. The image shows Armstrong being escorted by a law enforcement officer. Her hands are apparently handcuffed behind her back. The officer's face is blurred out. Armstrong is dressed in black. Her expression is calm, neutral, composed. Then 30 minutes later, the White House posted what appeared to be the same photo, except it wasn't. In the White House version, Armstrong is crying. Tears are streaming down her face. She appears distressed, emotional, broken, and her skin is darker. Let me say that again. The White House altered the photograph to make a black woman's skin darker and to make it look like she was sobbing. When journalists noticed and asked the White House about it, here's what they were told. Enforcement of the law will continue. The memes will continue. That's the official response from the White House of the United States of America. The memes will continue. CNN fact-checker Daniel Dale reported the White House has confirmed its official X account posted a fake image of a woman arrested in Minnesota after interrupting a service at a church where an ICE official appears to be a pastor. He continued, the White House image altered the actual photo to wrongly make it seem like the defendant was sobbing. Asked for comment, the White House sent a link to a spokesperson's X post that said, enforcement of the law will continue. The memes will continue. The White House didn't deny it. They confirmed it. And they said they'll keep doing it. Kaylin Dorr, the White House Deputy Communications Director, posted, yet again, to the people who feel the need to reflexively defend perpetrators of heinous crimes in our country, I share with you this message. Enforcement of the law will continue. The memes will continue. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is state propaganda, created with artificial intelligence, distributed by the official White House social media account, and when caught, they called it a meme. This is not about political spin. This is not about framing or messaging or putting your best foot forward. This is the government of the United States using AI to create a false image of reality and presenting it as truth. They made a black woman look like she was crying when she wasn't. They darkened her skin. They wanted the public to see her as emotional, broken, defeated. Why? Because it serves a narrative. If Armstrong looks calm and composed, she looks like someone standing on principle. She looks like a civil rights attorney who knew exactly what she was doing and accepted the consequences. But if she looks like she's sobbing, if she looks broken, then she looks like someone who regrets her actions, someone who's been crushed by the power of the state. That's the story the White House wanted to tell, so they created it. We've seen authoritarian governments do this for decades, doctoring photos, creating false images, erasing people from photographs, making reality conform to the state's preferred narrative. But we told ourselves that could never happen here, not in America, not with a free press, not with technology that can detect manipulation. Except it just did, and the White House admitted it and said they'll keep doing it. According to Pointer, the White House X account has made at least 14 posts with AI-generated or AI-altered content since the start of Trump's second term. This isn't a one-time mistake. This is a pattern. MS Now columnist Zishan Aline wrote, "This is the first widely circulated manipulated image that I know of from the Trump administration that passes convincingly as a real photograph." He continued, "This is a new frontier. Never before has a government been able to willfully deceive the public with tools as effective as those afforded by modern technology. How can the public trust in its institutions if basic facts are impossible to ascertain?" That's the question we all need to be asking. Let's step back and look at what's happening in Minnesota as a whole. Greg Bovino, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection official leading operations in Minneapolis, said immigration officers have made about 3,000 arrests in Minnesota in the last 6 weeks. 3,000 arrests in 6 weeks in one state. This includes children on their way to school, families with pending asylum cases, people with no deportation orders. On Friday, Minnesota businesses participated in an economic blackout, closing for the day to protest ICE enforcement tactics. Protesters have been arrested at churches. A federal magistrate judge rejected the Justice Department's attempt to charge journalist Don Lemon for covering the church protest. Federal judge ordered restrictions on ICE tactics after they deployed tear gas against protesters. And through it all, the White House has been creating AI-altered images to shape public perception. Liam Ramos and his father remain in detention in Texas. Their lawyer is working to secure their release, but that process could take weeks or months. Nekima Levy Armstrong and 2 other protesters face federal charges under a law designed to protect abortion clinics. The White House has made clear they will continue using AI to create memes, their word for state propaganda. And somewhere in the chain of command, someone decided that using a 5-year-old as bait was acceptable enforcement tactics. This isn't about immigration policy anymore. This is about what kind of country we're willing to accept. Are we okay with agents using children as bait? Are we okay with the government creating fake images of protesters to make them look broken? Are we okay with darkening a black woman's skin to fit a narrative? Are we okay with calling state propaganda memes? A 5-year-old boy in a bunny hat is in a detention center in Texas, separated from his mother, because federal agents used him as bait to see if anyone else was home. A civil rights attorney had her arrest photo doctored by the White House to make her look like she was crying and to make her skin darker. And when confronted, the government said, the memes will continue. This is where we are. Subscribe to Capital Prime. Turn on notifications. Share this video, because the only defense against state-manufactured reality is insisting on actual truth. Drop a comment. Tell me, when the government admits to creating fake images and says they'll keep doing it, where do we go from here? This is Capital Prime, where we investigate power, defend truth, and refuse to let propaganda replace reality. I'll see you in the next investigation.